guys, welcome to Claying Around with Steffy Jewels. And in this very first episode, number one, yeah, we're going to be playing around with the Bullseye Cane. Now, as a beginner, just like most of you who are probably watching this, I have no idea what to do with the Bullseye Cane except for some of the videos I've been watching on YouTube. And these Polymer Clay artists are so great that it gets a little intimidated. So I decided from a beginner to another beginner, me to you, I'm going to show you what I've done with some Bullseye Cane just by playing with this. Or as we call this, claying around. So right here in front of me, you see a couple of slabs of clay. Now I wanted to show you two sets of types of clay. These two right here is called Steffy Souffle. And it's just a little bit softer sheen. I mean, there's no big difference from all this. I just started using Souffle. This is probably my second time touching this clay, but it feels really smooth, kind of almost like silky-like, almost leather-like almost. And from what I read from the beginner side of things, this particular clay is easier to work with for beginners, as well as once you do project with it, it has less sanding and a lot less maintenance to do with it once it's done baking. So these two are actually Souffle Steffy. Now these, oh, and by the way, these are actually two full blocks, meaning I took the entire block of clay and conditioned it. So this is what two full blocks look like, and I'm kind of going to show you up close how thick it looks, because one thing I noticed, let's see if I can get that, let me do it like this. One thing I noticed about some of the artists, that they show you that, okay, you want your clay to be pretty thick, but they don't really show you how they got that thickness. And just from what I realized, that this right here, it doesn't really matter what clay you have here or what, how much you use. Like I said, this right here is two full blocks. You see there's a lot more clay here. Whereas this one, it's just half a block. And I just basically took this block and sliced it in half. So, and that's what this half is. But these right here is actually Primo. So this is this is Primo clay. And like I said, I try to get the same colors as possible so that we can kind of see how they look when you do this, the Bullseye Cane. But these two are Primo, and these are Steffy Souffle. Now, Primo is another brand that's also beginner friendly, and I want to show you the thickness too on this one as well. So as you can see right here, let me get that little focus for you. There you go. The thickness here, you sometimes will hear Polymer Clay artists say, you want to roll this on your thickest setting. Oh, let me get it back in focus. Put this on your thickest setting and have the clay be about 2 millimeters thick. And what I have here is an actual tool, because I'm also a jewelry maker. This is I think they call it a bead sizers, where you basically can size up your beads. You just kind of put it right here, and it tells you how big your beads are. So, and this comes in millimeters. So I actually took this and put it on my clay and just kind of barely press it and see how thick it was. And right now, you probably can't see this because it's going to be hard, it's so small. But it's saying it's about, well, this one's about 3 millimeters thick. So that's how thick this one is. And this is the full block of Primo Souffle. I'm sorry, Steffy Souffle. And then the same thing here. I do the same thing on this Primo here. And it's the same one. This is also 3 millimeters thick. So it really doesn't matter if you use a half a sheet or half your clay or the entire block of clay. Basically, to get the thickness, it depends on your actual pasta setting machine. So I actually have an Atlas 180 pasta machine that I got from Edge Streets, and I'll put that link down below in the description so you can kind of look at that pasta machine. But for me to get this thickness, no matter what clay brand I'm using, for 3 millimeters, I had to put my pasta machine on a setting 0. Now, if you have any other machine that is not an Atlas machine, meaning it don't have the word pasta machine in it, then your settings will probably be the opposite. So when I first started out with clay, I actually went to my local craft store, such like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and I got a clay conditioning machine. And on their settings, 9 is the thickest. So if you're using anything that doesn't say Atlas or it don't say pasta machine, then just know that when they said on the videos that you probably watch on YouTube, when it said run this through your thickest setting, that means pasta machine, run on 0. Clay conditioning machine, meaning any machine that you get from a craft store, run it on your setting 9. So flip the numbers. So right now we're going to go ahead and start with the Bullseye Cane. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you on the two small ones how to make a Bullseye Cane. There's a lot of videos after that shows you how to do it pretty perfectly. Like I said, I'm still a beginner, so I am not perfect with that right now. So, but just by watching a lot of videos here, I'm going to leave that on there. I'm going to show you how to do it. So the main thing you need to figure out is which one you want as your inside and then your outside. Now, if you're filming with a bullseye, just think of like a dartboard. You have one. Actually, I'll draw something real quick. So here's your you got dark circle here, and you got lines, and you got something here in the middle. That's what they call a bullseye. So basically, your cane's gonna have a solid color in the middle, and then you can have as many lines you want outside, but you want to have like a halo line on the outside of that, and that's what makes it a bullseye, because you're basically trying to aim for the middle. So Bullseye Cane, you're just gonna figure which one you want. So I think I'm gonna flip the two. So on the Souffle, I'm gonna put one of the opposite color in the middle. So I think for this one we're gonna go ahead and do pink in the middle as the bullseye, and this one's gonna be our outside color. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of trim out these little rough edges. Now I ran Primo through my thickest setting machine about 25 times, because you want to get it nice and conditioned. And the reason why I did this one 25 times, because it was a little bit stiff, a little bit crumbly. As you can see in the video right here, it was kind of starting to crumble on me, which means this clay is pretty old, or it's starting to get old, and it's been sitting in my stash for a while. So I'm just going to take these out, and don't throw away these actual ends, because you're going to use these to make some projects with them. So I'm just going to put that on the side here. In fact, I'm going to put it right here. Well, no, because I don't want to mess up my actual craft. I'm going to put it on tile. So that's going to be the inside. So I'm just going to kind of roll it up here into a big old circle, and then kind of squish it. Now, like I said, I am still a beginner, so I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but this is just how I'm going to do it. So you basically want to make like a little plug or a big chunk of clay, as they like to say on the videos. So I'm just going to roll it, squish it, just really, get a nice little plug. And depending on how long you want your bullseye or how thick you want it, it's up to you. So you kind of want to, if, depending on the bead size, you really want it pretty thick. So this one's going to be probably, I think what they used to say on the videos that I've been watching, a quarter, like the same size as a roll of quarters. Well, since this is a small amount of clay, it's going to be more of a size of nickel. So I'm just kind of squishing it, because I want to kind of have a little circle here. And yeah, there is a little crack here, which usually means there's some air bubbles. So you want to kind of push out any cracks that you get. Let's see if I can show that here. See, there's a little crack right there, which means there could be some air in there, and you want to squeeze out anything that can have air. You don't want to see too much any cracks. So, but it's fun if you see it, because I have watched plenty of people show you how to fill in holes. One of my favorite YouTube Polymer Clay artists is Turtle Soup Beads, and she shows you how to plug in these holes. So, but there goes my plug right there. So it's just like I said, it's little, small, and if I put it on the actual, let's see, I have a ruler here. It's about 2.5 centimeters long. So that's not bad. So that's the beginning of a plug. So I'm just going to kind of plug it up. It's just a little bitty, like I said, it's the bullseye side. So now you just take your other clay that you want on the outside, and you want to make sure you kind of line it up here. You just want to kind of get the same width of it, and kind of see how it measures. So I'm just going to kind of roll it like this. And there's a couple ways to do this. You can actually put it in the middle, which is what I did here, or you can put it on the end, which now, since it's stuck on here, one thing about Primo, and, well, actually, not going to pull that one out, nothing. Yeah, Primo, once you start working with clay, it warms up, so it sticks to your clay. So, actually, one thing I did not do is you want to kind of trim this out, too. Just kind of get up all these other edges. You want to kind of have a clean cut on anything you do. So, and you're going to use just a clay blade. Just be careful, you don't cut yourself on it. And hopefully I didn't cut too much off. Perfect. So, I'm going to go ahead and just do it at the edge. So I'm going to put it at the edge here, and you're just going to roll it. Let me see if I can show you right here. You're just going to roll it very slowly, because you want to try to make sure you don't trap no air bubbles in between the two. And then you just kind of roll it a little bit, rocking back and forth until you see a little line right here, which I don't think you can see that on the camera. But there's a little line right here that shows you a good place to cut. So you're just going to kind of cut, kind of look at an angle like that. So that way it actually, when you roll it, it meets at the end. Like that. So it kind of overlaps. So all you want to do is just kind of push it right here and just smooth it with your hands. And so you got this little extra clay here. So I'm just going to take the clay blade carefully and just kind of cut around it. Because I don't need all that extra right there. So it's kind of like if you peel apples a little bit. And there you go. And yeah, I kind of snipped that one, but that's fine right there. And see, there is the actual bullseye. So you have your target in the middle, and then you got the little halo around it. And you just kind of want to smooth this over right here. And one thing I've seen a lot of artists do on YouTube is they just use their table to kind of smooth it. But if you notice, like anything that I saw, a lot of them tell you do not get in the habit of using your table, because if you have a design in the middle, it will distort it. But since this is just a solid plug color, it's not going to really distort anything. So I'm just going to push this and roll that like that. And there goes your basic simple bullseye, you know, from a beginner perspective now. I'm sure if you look at all the other artists, they've been doing this for a long time, but like I said, I am a true beginner. I mean, I do not have a lot of clay experience, so this is what it looks like if you're just starting out. So, you know, if you're following along with Steffy Jewels here and playing around, eventually we're going to all come together and be the same level of having the perfect bullseye. So I'm just going to roll this a little bit here, and as you can see, this is starting to blend in a little bit. The line is starting to blend in. So you can see that a little bit, yeah. It's starting to blend in a little bit. So I'm just going to roll it a little bit. And there goes your simple bullseye. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this one. And I'm going to go ahead and do the bullseye and come back and show you what's next. Okay, guys. So I'm back, and I rolled this other one into a bullseye as well. So this one right here will be the Souffle. And this one right here will be the Primo. So as you can see right now, it don't look much right now. It just looks like a little plug of clay. So you're going to have to reduce this down to the size you want. So I'm going to try to reduce this on camera because, like I said, I'm still a beginner. So my reducing techniques, I'm still trying to learn this. But like I said, we're claying around today with Steffy Jewels. So this is how you clay around with the Bullseye Cane. So you're going to take your clay and you're going to kind of like squeeze in the middle. Like squeeze and turn, squeeze and turn. Squeeze and turn. And what this does is it actually takes the air bubbles that might be trapped between these two layers and push it out. So you squeeze and turn slowly, and you do this in your hand. And you can see you start making a little dent in there. It makes a little hourglass shape or a little indentation. So we squeeze here, and I'm just doing the first side here. I'm just doing it slowly. And don't worry, it's going to start distorting this a little bit, and that's fine. So now, and then you're going to start pushing up a little bit. So once we get up there, we're going to squeeze and move up. So squeeze and go up to the top. Squeeze and go up. And this is one that I said, like when I watch a lot of the videos, they said don't get in the habit of actually rolling this out, because if you have a design in the middle of this, it will start to distort it, and it won't look right. So I'm going to try to work on that, because I'm so wanting to do this to roll it, but for right now, we want to get the air bubbles out. So now that I kind of got that slim, now flip over here and do the same thing. Squeeze and turn. And I'm just kind of squeezing in the middle. And as you can see, it looks kind of wonky right now, but once we kind of start squeezing out the air, then we can roll it slightly to kind of get a more uniform shape, but just a very slight roll. So now I'm squeezing up to the top, and you can see that it's starting to push that little plug out a little bit more. But as you can see too, as I'm doing this, it now looks like a little, like a little dumbbell. So we're just squeezing it and pushing it up. Squeezing and pushing it up. We're just trying to get the air bubbles out. And then you're going to flip here and do the same thing. So I'm just kind of squeezing it, you know, just a little pads my finger here, just kind of squeezing it. Squeezing and pushing up. So now I'm just going to squeeze and just turn and push slightly up. Flip it, do it again. Squeeze, turn, kind of move your hands up the clay in the middle. And see, now we can kind of roll it slightly just to kind of get a uniform shape a little bit. So just slightly. And now you kind of got a little long. Now, these ends right here, we're going to go ahead and just cut those ends off so we can see where we're at. But actually, I'm going to squeeze this one a little bit more so we could be a little more skinnier. So, squeeze and push. Squeeze and push. And see, now it looks a little slimmer. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Squeeze and push. Squeeze and push. And then a little bit more because it just kind of looks a little big hump here. Squeeze and push. Squeeze and push. Alright, so that should be good. And then, like I said, do a slight roll here to kind of get a uniform. And now, with your clay blade, which you do need a clay blade, you want to kind of cut here to get out the ends. And see, there goes your bullseye. And you can see right here, as a beginner, I'm still learning, there's a little bit of holes in it, which means there was some air in there. So we can actually squeeze some more out of it to try to get much air out of the clay. I'm gonna cut that off. And right here, there's another one too. As you can see, a little pocket, which means there's some air there. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to squeeze it out a little bit more. Squeeze it out. Squeeze it out. Just a little bit. And then over here too, squeezing out. Squeezing out. So yeah, and there's just a slight roll. Oh, let me get that back in focus. A slight roll. Now, these ears right here, excuse me, as most of the videos says, do not throw this away. I have a whole bucket of just clay like that this is what I first started out with, and like I said, I'm still learning. I haven't figured out what to do with that. But in the Claying Around series, you will see me work through some of these crafts that we learned on the YouTube channel, because I thought it'd be interesting to see a beginner do some of this stuff, because a lot of folks out there on YouTube have been doing it for years. I've probably been doing clay for almost a year, but not a full year. I kind of stopped because, you know, life happens, you know, COVID-19, moving around, just you can't really focus on your craft. So I wasn't able to kind of get further along in my clay. But there goes our basic bullseye. So you can see we kind of did some more squeezing. So let's go ahead and cut just a little bit off on the ends to see where we're at. And see, right now, just by doing that, there's no bubbles here. So we squeezed out all the air that we had. So I'm going to go back over here and do the same thing. Cut this a little slice off. And there we go. So like I said, even as a beginner, you're still going to get it. So don't beat yourself up if you see a little air bubble. Just keep squeezing now. But that's one cane right there. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce this one the same way. And I'm going to come back. And now we're going to show you what kind of projects you can do with the bullseye cane. So stay tuned. Okay, guys. So I came back. And here are my two bullseye canes right here. As you can see. This one right here. Let me see the focus a little bit. This one right here is going to be the Scopy Souffle. And this one right here is the Primo. So you can see there's no really big difference on the two. It's just that one clay is softer and easier to run, like to work with, but they're both beginner friendly from what I heard. And so far, I actually like the Souffle better because it does have like a nice silky sheen, like a satin sheen on it. And it's very soft and it's easy to work with, and it's very soft. Like I said, this one, kind of look more of a rubbery. It looks more rubbery than this one, so something you can kind of tell the difference here. But I actually like, the Scopely, the Souffle better. Now, one thing I forgot to tell you when I was rolling these up is once you actually get your bullseye canes, before you do any type of slicing on it or cutting, you want these to sit for a while. So for time's sakes here, I'm going to go ahead and let this sit in my actual freezer for about 10 minutes to kind of toughen up a little bit, because when you work with clay, it starts to get warm when you work with your hands, and it's like really soft. And like I said, when you start slicing into these things, these inside colors will start to bleed on each other. Now, it probably won't look much here because it's just two colors. But if you have like I said, any type of designs in the middle, which that's going to be something else I'm going to show in the Cleaning Around with Steffy Jewels series. You'll see that, yeah, if you start slicing into these things while they're still warm, it will start to smear your color. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the actual freezer for about 10 minutes so that way it can kind of cool down a little bit. And we're going to come back and start making some bullseye projects. So stay tuned. Okay guys, so I got these out the freezer right here and I let them sit for about 5 minutes just to get the condensation to be melted out a little bit, because when you get anything out of freezer it starts to have little water droplets on it. So I want to make sure that my cane was a little bit dry. So I went ahead and let it cool down, and now we're going to actually start making our very first project, which is beads. And I have an example right here. These are actually just regular clay beads that I took the slices of these canes and I just kind of wrapped it. Okay, there we go. And just kind of wrapped it around a filler bead. So if you're just beginning like I am right now, then you probably don't have a lot of get that clear. You probably don't have a lot of actual scrap clay. So now I do have a bunch of scrap clay that I did use because I was learning how to work with some of the projects I saw on YouTube. But for the sake of this beginner video, we're finna use the scrap clay that we did from these canes. So you should have quite a few scraps here that you did when you kind of cut this down to size. And that's what these are right here. So I have these is the Primo, and this, of course, is the Souffle. So it doesn't matter which one you use. You can use either one, but we just basically need to make some filler size. So to kind of get a bead shape, you really want to actually, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can actually use, let me scoot that back a little bit. You can actually use some clay cutters. They do have clay cutters out there that you can kind of make the circle shapes for you. Or like I said, just options you have at the house. Now, like I said, this is more geared to the beginners in mind, so I don't have those fancy cutters. I do have like cutters like these that I got from Michael's, you know, but those are like shape cutters. So I just need to make a starting point for a circle bead. Now, most beads that folks work with are like size 6, 8, and 10, and 12. So I actually measure out, which is basically the top to one of these markers here that the ink dried out. I actually measure this top out with my little bead sizer. And this wide part here says it's about 11 millimeters, which is pretty big. So we're gonna go ahead and get this clay and get ready to punch little holes right here. So you can run this through your pasta machine if you need to. It is still fairly conditioned from when we did the canes. We're just gonna kind of roll it out here just a little bit, just so I can have it wide enough. And then with the top here, I'm just going to punch holes just like that in it, so I can actually get a starting point here. So, and you might have to punch a little bit just to kind of cut it a little bit up. See, that one got stuck in there. You're just gonna have to pop it out with your hand, which is fine. But then we can probably just pull the clay around here, just so we have some dots. So I have 4 here, so I'm gonna do 2 with each color. I'm gonna do 2 with the Souffle brand, and then the 2 with the actual premium brand. Just so you can see that it doesn't matter which clay you use right now, it comes with the same thing. So you're just gonna take this in your hand on the table, just kind of roll it into a little ball, just like that. So yeah, so you got a little ball right there. Let's see if you can see that. Let's measure it. Yeah, a little ball. So, and then do the same thing here. Just gonna make a little ball with the other ones. It doesn't have to be a really perfect shape of a ball. It just needs to, it's just something to kind of wrap your clay cane slices around. So it's really like a rough shape here. So right there. So there goes my little 4 little balls here. And right now, as you can see that the size is a little bit small, which is fine, because when you start cutting off slices here, and then wrap it around here, it will start to make the actual slices, your beads, a little bit bigger. So depending on how big of bead you want, if you want the bead to be really big, then you need to cut big slices. Otherwise, if you want a very small bead, you cut thin slices. So we'll move this over here out the way. Okay, so we'll put those two here. So there we go. So in there, we're gonna take the blade here, you're gonna cut it straight down and just do a little bit of thin slices for right now. I'm gonna do 2 right now, since these are pretty small. So there you go, your 2 bullseye canes that we're gonna turn into actual beads that look just like this. So we'll take one of them and just kind of wrap it around your bead, just like that. So you can see that just one slice right now will not actually cover up your bead. So that's why you might need a couple of slices. And you're just gonna put it, you can put it anywhere you want on the bead, but there it's just kind of like sandwich that little filler. So you can see that we still have a little gap here, and we have a gap here. So all you gotta do is just kind of pinch and just kind of smooth the little ends here, so that way it meets and kind of enclose it up a little bit. Just like that. So just like that. Just so that way you don't see that filler bead anymore, because you want to cover up that bead. And now as you see the little seams right here on it. So now we're just going to make sure you roll it on our table, or you can roll it on your hand, depending which is easier for you. Sometimes rolling hand works better, but you start feeling a little twinge of pain there if you're doing this a lot. So, and a lot of you, are beginners, more veterans out there, probably are used to doing this, so their hands are strong. But I got fairly young hands, but even that, doing this so many times hurts. So if you have arthritis in your hand, it might be best to use the table and let the table do the work for you. So with me just rolling around the table like this, what we're doing is we're just basically blending in the seams here. And there we go. It pretty much is a little bead here. Now, I'm not sure you can see this on the camera, but there is a little bit of pink showing through right now on my bead. So you can see that. But there's like a little pink showing through my blue line, which is okay right now, because like I said, we're doing handmade. So handmade is going to look, handmade. So that's one bead right there. And you just do the same thing for the next bead. So I'm going to go ahead and use the other color. I'm not sure why that's not focusing. So this is the other one. So here's one pink here that we have. Now I'm going to take the same one and just do it here. And like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off because it looks kind of wonky. And then the same thing, we're going to do a nice little thin slice. I'm going to do 2 first, because like with these beads being so small, it is actually 2 here. So wrap one right there and wrap one right there. And sometimes you might need to get another third piece. But I'm gonna see if I can, like right now you can see I have a big gap here and I don't know if I can squeeze these over here. So I'm gonna take another slice here off this cane. Just like that. And then I'm gonna kind of cut it in half, just so I can fill in just a little bit. And that's okay if we overlap it a little bit, because you see it's a bead. So yeah, I still have a little gap here. So this little thin slice right here will wrap right there. So let me wrap it here. And then I can start, bringing in, pinching the sides in, just so I can cover up that filler bead that we had right here. So, and then like I said, just roll it around. And like I said, this is a good little project if you want to start building up a bead stash right now. Like I said, like your own handmade beads. Especially if you have a particular project in mind and you need a couple of colors here, you can actually just, depending on where you want the dominant color is. Like right now, the dominant color out here is going to be my blue, because that's what's in the bullseye. Whereas this one is pink, because that's my dominant color right there. So yeah, but you just kind of roll it right here, roll it right there. So these are 2 that we made actually. So for your first 2 projects, using just a simple bullseye cane, you just made your very own beads. And like I said, once you get up and you, like I said, you take a skewer or whatever and you just punch a little hole in it, or you can go ahead and bake it. And then if you have a hand drill, you can do it after it. I like to actually go ahead and actually do the holes before I bake it, but for the sake of this video, I'm just really showing you a couple things you can do with Bullseye. So right now, first thing I did was I made the most simplest project out there. You can do beads. So I'm not going to do the other ones right here, but like I said, that's the first one that you can make using bullseyes. So in another video, I will actually take these same bullseye cane and I will show you what else you can make with the bullseye cane. So for now, this is your girl Stephanie with Steffy Jewels. And please make sure you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe button, you hit that thumbs up button if you want to see more projects using the Bullseye Cane project. Now, hopefully this was very informative to you. Like I said, I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning this great clay here. And yeah, there's a more complex project you can do with these canes, but you have to make other canes here. But in these series of Cleaning Around with Steffy Jewels, I will actually show you a lot of these things from a beginner perspective. So, once again, this is your girl Stephanie with Steffy Jewels. And as always, you never know what treasure you find here at Steffy Jewels. So, hope to see you soon. Bye!